Chosen one, listen carefully. This message did not reach you by accident. There are moments in life when heaven becomes silent before it moves powerfully. And you have been living in one of those moments. You cried in private. You stayed quiet while others mocked you. You watched people celebrate while you questioned why your season felt so heavy. But hear this now, chosen one. God has not ignored your pain. In fact, the very people who underestimated you, the ones who whispered about you, the ones who thought your story was finished, they are about to witness something they cannot explain, because God is preparing a table before you, not in hiding, not in secret. And what is coming next will make everything you endured begin to make sense. You have been through a season that drained you emotionally. A season where you smiled in front of people, but silently battled exhaustion, disappointment, and confusion. You prayed, and nothing seemed to change. You waited, and doors stayed closed. You trusted people, and they betrayed you. You gave your heart, and they treated you like you were invisible. There were nights you wondered if God still saw you. There were mornings you woke up tired before the day even began. And the hardest part was this: the people who hurt you appeared to be winning. They laughed while you suffered. They moved forward while you stood still. They acted like your silence meant weakness. But they did not understand something. God sometimes hides his chosen ones before he elevates them. Pay attention. While they were judging your current condition, God was shaping your future position. While they called you forgotten, heaven was preparing your restoration. And what makes this season different is this: you are no longer entering a season of survival. You are stepping into a season of divine confirmation, not because you are perfect, but because God is faithful. Chosen one, type "still here" in the comments right now, not as a reply to this message, as a declaration to heaven that the hiding season is ending. You are still here, still standing, still chosen. Let that be the first thing you say out loud in this new season. There is a reason the attacks became more intense recently. The enemy does not fight people who are going nowhere. The pressure increased because your breakthrough is getting closer. Some people thought they buried your potential, but they only planted you. If that landed somewhere in your spirit, press the like button right now. That is your agreement that what looked like burial was always a planting. Press like and let heaven record that you received it. Some thought rejection would destroy your confidence, but it forced you to depend on God instead of applause. And now, the same tears you cried in private are watering the ground for the table. God is preparing publicly. Do you remember how many times you stayed silent when you could have defended yourself? How many times you walked away from arguments? How many times you swallowed the pain because you did not want revenge? God saw every moment, every insult, every betrayal, every lonely night. He saw the fake smiles. He saw the hidden jealousy. He saw the people who secretly wanted you to fail. And still, he kept protecting you. That is why you survived things that should have broken you. Pay attention. Your survival was never luck. It was divine covering. There were moments you almost gave up completely. Moments you questioned your purpose. Moments you felt emotionally abandoned. Moments you wondered why your heart carried so much weight. But heaven kept whispering, "Keep going." And now something is shifting. Not everybody around you will celebrate your elevation. Some people only liked you when you were struggling. They were comfortable when you doubted yourself. Comfortable when you stayed small. Comfortable when you questioned your worth. But your healing changed something. Your growth changed something. Your connection with God changed something. Now they can feel your confidence returning, and it unsettles them. Chosen one, do not apologize for the season. God is bringing you in too. You spent too much time shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. too much time explaining your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. But the table God prepares does not require human permission. When God opens a door, no jealousy can close it. When God restores someone, no betrayal can stop it. And this is why the waiting season was necessary, because if God elevated you too early, your heart would not have been ready. The pain matured you. The silence strengthened you. The rejection purified your intentions. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped begging people to stay. You stopped depending on human approval for your identity. And that transformation is what prepared you for the next level. Type chosen in the comments right now. Not because someone gave you permission, because heaven named you that before the pain came. Before anyone had an opinion about your season, before the rejection even happened, type chosen. Let that be the name you answer to today. Pay attention carefully. Some blessings cannot arrive until your spirit becomes strong enough to carry them. That is why your process felt so lonely. God was teaching you how to stand without constant reassurance. And now, the people who doubted your future will witness your growth. Not so you can become arrogant, but so they can understand that God defends His children. The table is not revenge. The table is evidence. Evidence that God can restore what people tried to destroy. Evidence that your story did not end in pain. Evidence that favor still exists. Share this message with someone who needs this evidence today. You know exactly who. The person still in the season before the table, still waiting for proof that their story is not finished. What heaven placed in your hands today is too important to keep to yourself. Share it now, and deep down, you can already feel it. Something inside you has been waking up again. Your hope, your vision, your strength. You are beginning to believe again. Why people you loved became strangers overnight. And the hardest part was this. You were trying to heal while still being wounded. You smiled in front of people, but deep inside, you were exhausted. There were nights you stared at the ceiling thinking, what is all of this doing to me? Because pain changes a person. It changes the way you trust, the way you speak, the way you carry your heart. But what you could not see at the time was that the struggle was shaping something deeper inside you. The loneliness taught you discernment. The betrayal taught you boundaries, the waiting taught you patience, and the silence. The silence taught you how to hear God without depending on constant signs. You thought you were falling apart, but piece by piece, heaven was rebuilding you differently, stronger, wiser, more grounded. That season forced you to stop depending on people who could not carry your destiny. It forced you to pray differently, not shallow prayers, not quick emotional moments, but honest prayers. The kind spoken through tears, the kind whispered when nobody else was around. And those prayers changed you. Because pain has a way of revealing what comfort never could. It exposes hidden fears, hidden insecurities, high wounds you spent years avoiding. And even though it hurt, that exposure became part of your healing. Looking back now, you can see it. Some doors had to close because you were settling for less than what God intended. Some relationships had to end because they were draining your spirit. Some delays had to happen because your character needed time to mature. You were asking God to remove the pain, while God was using the pain to prepare you. Prepare your mindset, prepare your heart, prepare your faith. That is why you are not the same person anymore. You carry yourself differently now, not because life suddenly became easy, but because the pressure created endurance inside you. The version of you that exists today was born in private battles. Nobody applauded. People see your calmness now, but they do not know how hard you fought to protect your peace. They see your strength, but they did not witness the moments you almost gave up. And maybe that is the powerful part of all this. The pain did not destroy your purpose, it revealed it. You became more compassionate, more aware, more spiritually grounded, Things that once broke you completely now only remind you how far God has brought you. And yes, there are still moments where the memories hurt. Still moments where certain scars ache unexpectedly. But those scars no longer control your future. They became reminders that you survived, that God carried you through seasons you thought would crush you. One day, you will fully understand why the process was necessary, why the heartbreak happened, why the waiting lasted longer than expected, why certain people disappeared from your life, because everything was preparing you for a version of yourself that could not be built through comfort alone. And now, you are walking with wisdom that pain produced, strength that pressure produced, faith that suffering produced, not perfect, but prepared. There comes a moment in life when things start to feel different around you, not because you changed what you say, but because something in your life is shifting quietly. People who once smiled at you without hesitation suddenly feel distant. Conversations that used to flow easily now feel slightly forced, and you start noticing something unsettling. Not everyone who claps for you is happy for you. It does not happen loudly. It happens in small moments, a delayed response, a forced smile, a compliment that does not feel warm anymore. At first, you doubt yourself. You think maybe you are overthinking it. Maybe it is just a coincidence. But deep down, something in your spirit begins to recognize the truth. Not all envy is loud. Some of it hides behind familiarity, behind friendship, behind support. And when God begins to elevate your life, He also begins to reveal what was never pure. It is not that everyone turned against you suddenly, it is that your growth exposed what was already there. Because hidden jealousy can stay quiet until your light gets brighter, until your confidence returns, until your peace becomes unshakable. Then it starts to show itself, not always through words, but through energy, distance, silence, where there used to be encouragement. And that realization can feel heavy because you start remembering moments that did not make sense before. Times when your success was downplayed, times when your excitement was not matched, times when your blessings were met with strange silence instead of joy. And now it clicks. It was never confusion. It was concealment. But here is what you need to understand. This exposure is not meant to destroy you emotionally. It is meant to protect you spiritually, because not everyone who walks with you is meant to go where God is taking you. Some people were comfortable with you when you were unsure, but they struggle with you when you become confident. They were fine with your silence, but uncomfortable with your voice. And that is how hidden jealousy gets revealed. Not through hatred, but through discomfort with your growth. And yes, it can hurt when you see it clearly for the first time, because you do not just lose illusions, you lose expectations. Expectations of loyalty that was never fully there. Expectations of support that was never consistent. But even in that discomfort, there is mercy, because clarity is better than confusion. God is not exposing people to break your heart. He is exposing them to free your path, so you stop pouring into empty places, so you stop trusting broken intentions, so you stop shrinking yourself to keep fragile relationships alive. And slowly, you begin to see peace differently, not as having many people around you, but as having the right ones, people who do not feel threatened by your growth, people who celebrate without comparison, people whose presence feels safe, not draining. And even if it feels lonely for a moment, it is a cleaner kind of space, a clearer path forward, because when hidden jealousy is exposed, so is your direction. And what remains after the confusion fades is truth. Type 777 in the comments. 7 is the number of divine completion. 3 sevens is heaven's signature on every silent battle you carried and survived without applause. The angels assigned to your story saw every single one. Let them see that you are still standing. Sybil, quiet, liberating truth. There were moments when you chose silence, not because you had nothing to say, but because you were trying to protect your peace. You saw things that hurt you. You heard things that were unfair. You felt misunderstandings building around you. And yet, you said nothing, and people misunderstood that silence. They thought it meant you were weak. They thought it meant you did not care. They thought it meant you had no response. But they never saw what was happening inside you, because silence is not empty. Sometimes silence is a battle, a place where emotions are louder than words, but you refuse to let them control your reaction. There were times you could have spoken back, times you could have defended yourself, times you could have exposed everything you knew, but something deeper in you said, "Not this time." And that decision cost you something. It cost you being understood. It cost you being validated. It cost you being seen correctly in that moment. But it also protected you from becoming someone you are not, because when pain speaks too quickly, it can create damage that takes years to repair. So you stayed quiet. You held it in. You breathed through it. You let time pass over what others wanted you to explode over. And that silence was not weakness. It was restraint. It was emotional strength most people never notice. Because anyone can react. Anyone can argue. Anyone can defend themselves in anger. But it takes something deeper to remain still when everything inside you wants to break loose. It carries wisdom. It carries patience. It carries discernment. And sometimes it carries healing in progress. There are battles you did not fight out loud, but you fought them internally every single day, smiling when you felt misunderstood, walking away when you wanted answers, letting go of conversations that would only drain you further. And people did not see that struggle. They only saw the quiet version of you, not knowing that your silence was actually strength under control, because reacting would have been easy, but growth required something harder. Holding your peace when your emotions wanted control. And maybe that is why you feel different now. You do not react the same way anymore. You do not rush to prove yourself anymore. You do not feel the need to explain everything anymore. Not because you stopped caring, but because you learned the value of your energy. And what once looked like silence was actually you learning how to protect your spirit. There is a kind of strength that does not shout. It does not argue. It does not chase validation. It does not fight every misunderstanding. It simply stands firm, quiet, steady, unshaken. And now you can see it clearly. The moments you stayed silent were not wasted. They shaped you. They taught you control. They taught you patience. They taught you emotional maturity that cannot be rushed. So if you ever question yourself in those silent seasons, know this: you were not breaking. You were becoming stronger in a way that does not need noise to prove it. There comes a moment when everything you went through starts to make sense. Not because people finally apologize, not because the past is erased, but because your life begins to speak for itself. And that is what the table represents. Not revenge, not bitterness, not payback, but proof. Kit proof. The kind of proof that does not need arguments, does not need explanations, does not need you to defend your story anymore. Because for so long you were misunderstood. People saw your struggle, but not your strength. They saw your delay, but not your development. They saw your silence, but not your survival. And some even formed opinions about you in seasons where you were just trying to hold yourself together. You tried to explain, you tried to clarify, you tried to make people understand your heart. But not everyone listened. And that is where something inside you started to change. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped trying to convince people who were committed to misunderstanding you. And even though it hurt, that shift became your turning point. Because when God prepares a table in your life, it is not about proving them wrong with words. It is about revealing truth through transformation. It is when your life becomes the answer, when your peace speaks louder than your past, when your stability contradicts everything they assumed about you, when your growth becomes undeniable without you saying a single thing. And that is why it is not revenge. Revenge still carries emotion, but proof carries peace. Revenge says, "Look what I became because of you." But proof says nothing at all. It simply stands. It simply exists. It simply reflects what God has done quietly over time. There may still be people who remember who you were in your hardest season, but they are about to witness who you became in spite of it. And that difference is what shifts everything. Because your table is not built in chaos, it is built in restoration. It is built in healing. You did not always feel while it was happening, and one day you will realize the same places that once saw your pain will also witness your peace. The same eyes that saw your struggle will see your stability, and you will not need to announce it. You will not need to defend it. You will not need to explain how you got there, because your life will carry the evidence. And that is what makes it powerful. Not loud success, but quiet confirmation, not emotional reaction, but steady transformation. Someone else is still waiting for their table to be prepared. Still in the season before the evidence comes. Still looking at their life and wondering if proof is even possible for someone like them. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether a coffee, a seed, or a seat at the table being prepared, what you plant today is how this word finds them. Not as a transaction, as the first act of someone who has already decided the table is real. Because here is what shifts when you plant. The same God who is building your table reads every seed as evidence that you believe it is coming, and evidence moves heaven. As you give, bring with you the 3 places where your own table is still being set. The provision that has not yet arrived, the relationship that still has distance in it, the direction that still needs clarity. Place all 3 inside what you release. The table being prepared for you and the table being prepared for them both move the moment you open your hand. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. That nothing you went through was wasted. That everything that tried to break you, stronger in character, calmer in spirit, clearer in direction. And when you finally sit at that table in your life, you will understand something deeply. You were never being punished in the process. You were being prepared, and now your life is the proof. Type Amen in the comments. Amen is how you put your name on it. There comes a moment in life when something inside you starts to feel different. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like a shift you cannot fully explain. Yet you can no longer ignore. It feels like breathing again after holding your breath for too long. The heaviness does not disappear overnight, but it begins to loosen. And slowly, you realize something important. What was broken is not staying broken. There is movement again. There is healing again. There is life returning in places you thought had gone silent forever. This is what restoration feels like. Not instant perfection, but gentle rebuilding. You may not even notice it at first. You just wake up one day and realize the pain does not speak as loudly as it used to. The memories do not control your emotions the same way anymore, and the things that once drained you now feel distant. Not because they never mattered, but because you are no longer stuck inside them. Something has changed in you. Your strength is returning in quieter ways. You start smiling again without forcing it. You start hoping again without fear. You start believing again without overthinking everything. And it feels strange at first, because you got used to surviving. You got used to carrying weight that was not meant to stay forever. But now you are stepping into something different. A rebuilding season. A restoring season. A season where what was lost is not forgotten, but being healed in ways you cannot fully see yet. There were moments you thought nothing would ever make sense again. Moments where you questioned your direction, your worth, your future. But even in those moments, something unseen was holding your story together. And now, you are beginning to feel the results of that unseen work. Doors that once felt permanently closed start to loosen. Peace that once felt impossible starts returning in small pieces. Clarity begins to replace confusion, and the weight you carried for so long starts to feel lighter. Not because life became easy, but because you are becoming stronger than what hurt you. This is how restoration moves quietly, gradually, deeply. It does not always announce itself, but it changes everything. You may still remember what you went through, but it no longer defines how you see yourself. That is the shift. That is the evidence of healing in motion. And even if everything around you is not perfect yet, something within you knows you are not where you used to be, and you are not going back, because restoration is not just about what returns to your life. It is about what returns inside you. Your peace, your strength, your hope. There is someone still in the season where peace has not come back yet, where strength still feels like it belongs to another chapter, where hope went quiet in ways they are still trying to explain. The same way this word found you today, your seed through the link in the description or the pinned comment is how it finds them. And this is what restoration teaches. What you release towards someone else travels on the same current that brings yours back. When you send peace forward, the God who is returning peace to you has more to work with. When you plant strength into someone else's season, what was poured out does not disappear, it multiplies back. Whatever is in your hand right now, release it. Not waiting until your own restoration feels complete. Not holding back until the moment feels safer. Not measuring whether it is enough. Plant it and trust that what moves from your hand toward theirs is exactly what accelerates what is already moving toward you. The link is in the description and the pinned comment, with a heart that is being restored, not replaced. Chosen one, the reason this message feels personal is because your spirit recognizes it. You have carried burdens nobody fully understood. People saw your appearance, but they did not see your internal battles. They did not see how many times you encouraged yourself in silence, how many times you fought anxiety privately, how many times you asked God for strength just to make it through another day. But heaven saw it all. And now the atmosphere around your life is changing, not overnight in a fantasy way, but deeply, spiritually, emotionally. You are becoming stronger. The old version of you tolerated disrespect because you feared losing people. But now, you are learning discernment. You are learning peace is more valuable than approval. You are learning that not everybody deserves access to your heart. Pay attention. The table God prepares is also about separation. Some people cannot go where God is taking you, not because you hate them, but because their presence was connected to your stagnation. There are environments you have outgrown, conversations you have outgrown, mindsets you have outgrown, and even though growth feels lonely sometimes, it is leading you somewhere greater. Chosen one, do not become discouraged. Because the process took longer than expected, died does not mean denied. God was working beneath the surface. Every closed door protected you. Every disappointment redirected you. Every painful goodbye revealed who truly belonged in your life. One day, you will look back and realize the betrayal was necessary. The waiting was necessary. The isolation was necessary, because it all pushed you closer to the purpose God designed for you. And now the table is being prepared, not just materially, but emotionally. Peace is returning, clarity is returning, confidence is returning. The version of you that almost disappeared is rising again. Chosen one, you are not forgotten. Even in the moments when life felt unfair, God was still guiding your steps. The attacks did not destroy you. The rejection did not define you. The delays did not cancel your destiny. You are still here for a reason. And the table God is preparing in front of your enemies is not about pride. It is about restoration. It is about showing you that your suffering was not wasted. So keep moving forward. Keep praying, keep believing, keep protecting your peace, because what God is building in your life now will speak louder than every lie spoken against you. And when the time comes, you will not need to force people to recognize your value. God will make it undeniable. If you are not yet subscribed, do that now. Not as a follow, as a sacred pipeline. What heaven is building in your life through these messages does not end here. The word for your next season is already being prepared. Stay in the current. You are chosen, you are protected, and your story is not over.